Hey guys, so I'm experimenting with making a video while I lay down because I need to lay down sometimes and ideas come to me and I'd like to share them. So anyway, here I am. At least giving you this nice floral pillow to look at. Anyway, this is my cancer story part 3. So I realized I want to talk about a little more of the physical logistics. On part 2, I talked about my energetic perspective of cancer, or kind of started talking about that. So I just kind of wanted to walk through, like some of the physical symptoms and things that I've had, because I know when I was going through it, or as I've been going through it, I was wishing that I could hear from other people to see what they had gone through and if any of it was the same. So, anyway, way before I was diagnosed, like, let's see, I think it was October of 2017, okay? So, like, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, October, November, December, yeah, not quite 2.5 years, but I was starting a new job and I was, had been on my feet more, standing in waiting tables. Basically, it was like a little part-time thing down the street from my house. And one day I was in the shower getting ready to go to work, and all of a sudden I have just all this blood, like almost like a hemorrhage, like menstrual blood. And then I had all this clotting and released it, and it was just like, what is happening? Almost like I was having a miscarriage. Um, but for various reasons, I didn't have money. I couldn't get Medicare at the time. Medicaid. Um, I didn't go get it checked out. And I hadn't been, oh my gosh, let's see, 27. I probably hadn't been in like 4 years before that. And part of the reason is that the last 2 times I did go, were were Planned Parenthood, which I totally support. I mean, at least for low income, people. Me and my daughters have gone to them for low cost women's medical care. You get your pap smear, you get checked, and it's very low cost. But the last 2 times I went, they were rough. Okay, so the first time it's like, okay, that happened. But then the next time I went back, I told them and I asked them and I said, hey, last time was kind of rough. Like, I don't think I'm a big baby. I mean, I had 2 children at home with uh, no medication. I mean, like, I'm not a stranger to pain, but at the same time, I don't think that a pelvic exam should be painful, and it never had been before. But these particular ladies were just rough. So it happened again the second time, and so I won't deny that this, consciously or subconsciously or both, kept me from going back sooner. It was like, oh, I'll be fine, I'm fine. Anyway, so a few months went by after that October of 2017 thing happened, and then in 2018 I started bleeding more. I started bleeding more often, and heavier. But then it would get better, and I thought, it's just stress. Stressed out. The cost of living. I was living in Austin, Texas. The cost of living had doubled, honestly, since 2012. It had doubled from what it had been before that, which was a very livable city and very affordable. My rent was $800, and by the time I moved out, 12 years later, but it happened within the first, I don't know, 6 years. My rent was double that. So, and things had not been done to the house that had been told that they would. So we were living in kind of subpar conditions and paying too much for it, but with a great neighborhood, great school district, great community, So anyway, but that was part of my stress, is the point. And then I had just a really tumultuous romantic relationship, and with some issues working around addiction, and it was really hard, a lot of stress, a lot of heartache. So anyway, bleeding kept coming and going, and then in this last year, 2019, I'd say March, I started to notice that my inguinal lymph nodes were becoming swollen, like where your bikini line is, like kind of where your underwear lies, where your leg attaches to your abdomen, your inguinal lymph nodes. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. But I was staying in a camper. I was staying in my daughter's camper out in nature and camping. It was wonderful. And I thought, oh, maybe there's something in the water. I don't know. I had a cut on my foot. Maybe. Anyway, but at that point, I did try to go to another clinic. I tried to find a place. It was really difficult to get through the red tape. I applied for Medicare again. I didn't qualify because I had no children at home. And before, I didn't qualify because I had been self-employed for so long. Anyway, and then in May, I started to have this really intense pain at my lower left abdomen, and it wouldn't go away. And I was like, oh God, okay. So I did a cleanse, I did a fast, I really tried to cleanse my bowels, and that helped. But then I started to lose weight. I was having a lot of fatigue. Oh my God, I couldn't even walk up a little small hill without feeling like I'm about 95 years old. That's how bad the fatigue was. I'd have to stop and catch my breath and breathe. And then I lost weight. I started losing a lot of weight. So anyway, I came to North Carolina and stayed with someone close to me. And, I got a lot of rest, and we tried to eat well, but I still wasn't really following the best protocol to get myself well. And then came here to my mother's a couple months later and went to the doctor and had all these diagnostic procedures done, all at the same time. They just put me out. They did a biopsy on my lymph node here because these were swollen. Still a little bit swollen. And an endoscopy, a colonoscopy, a pelvic exam. And then I ended up doing a CAT scan right after that because they found a tumor when they did the pelvic exam around my uterus. And the surgeon told me it looks cancerous. So they whisked me went from an empty colon for the colonoscopy to drinking the barium shake. At least it was tasted like mocha. It was kind of good. But to filling up my bowels with the CAT scan shake. Took a few days for that to come out. But anyway, and that's when they could see the tumor and realized that it was pressing on my right ureter from my kidney, between my kidney and my bladder, so that the urine was not draining into the bladder as it should, and the right kidney was kind of swollen. So I ended up a couple weeks later having a nephrostomy bag a tube put in my kidney, and then a bag that basically drains the urine out of that kidney to keep it healthy. And then I had a stent put in the left between the kidney and the bladder on my left side. So that, and then some point my left leg started to swell. My lymph nodes were most swollen on the lower left side of my left leg, started to have lymphedema. And that's another thing about lymph. The pain of this cancer, not so much now, but all summer and all along was this achy lymph pain. If you've ever had it, it's horrible. You can't relax. You lay down, you want to sleep, you want to rest, and you can't. It's just this, it's like a tight holding feeling and a slight burning feeling. It's a very unique feeling, and it's very uncomfortable. So I had that, and then the left, like I said, the lymphedema at my left leg. So certain things I would eat, or if I was on my feet for too long, it would start to swell. It's still doing it now, although it's getting it to be a lot better. And I noticed, so for a while, I started taking Advil for the pain, but I would notice that it seemed like it made my left leg swell more. So that kind of concerned me, but I needed relief from the pain. And I had a lot of visitors during the holidays, and I wanted to spend time with them. And, so I took pain pills, and then that led to taking some oxycodone because it was stronger. So the pain was getting worse. And but that makes you really sleepy, and it also constipates you like a lot. And when you're healing cancer, you have to keep your elimination going. It's extremely important. Your lymph system is trying to get rid of the cancer. You can't be having, bowels that are just stuck and stagnant. So anyway, I weaned myself off of the oxycodone and Advil, and it was difficult and hellish. And I want to make another video about that. That brought me to a lot of spiritual realizations, and a realization of just direct realization of the pain having been created by my negativity and resentment, and that way of being, that way of responding to life creates pain. And it finally got to a threshold point in my body where I had a lot of pain. So I just faced it. I don't know. Something came over me. I don't know. It's God. I can't say that it was all me and all my own strength, but I just was with it. I just stayed with it. I breathed through it. I got on my hands and knees. I did yoga. I was up all night, for a couple nights. I did a cleanse. I cleared my bowels too. Oh, that was so helpful. And got all that stuck energy out of there. But anyway, during that time, I had that realization about pain and my choice if I want to feed resentment and negativity and create pain. It's the stuff that wars are made of. It's the same spectrum. You know what I mean? So I really realized that. And the other thing I realized is I want to live. My resolve to live was really way more than sparked. It really rose, the resolve rose in me. A resolve. I realized at one point I felt like, just put me out of my misery. I can't take this anymore. And my very next thought was, no, I'm not giving up on life because I can't face pain. Like, wow, maybe I've been kind of riding that line my whole life, trying to get away from pain, trying to, self-medicate, trying to deal with anxiety, trying to kind of escape the pain. And finally, I just faced it. So anyway, that was a few weeks ago, and my pain's been getting better since then. My sleep's been getting better. There was a point that I had radiation for 2 weeks. I had like a low-level radiation, and that left me with once again, my inguinal lymph nodes were swollen, but they were extremely painful. I couldn't lift my legs. I could barely walk. I couldn't hardly sit up or get out of bed. I couldn't lie on either side, which I can barely lay on my right side because of this nephrostomy bag, but I can on the floor because it's really flat and hard. But I would literally lay in the bed. It was only one way I could lay, as it was flat on my back. And with my left leg swollen and my left kind of gluteal area swollen, with lymphedema. That was still painful. And I had to lay partly on the tube that goes in my right side of my back for my kidney. So, I mean, there was a point where I feel like I couldn't lay down on my back or my side or my front, or I couldn't like kneel. I couldn't do anything. But I just made the best of it. And finally, anyway, now every day has been getting better. I can dress myself again. It did leave me incontinent, so I can't hold my pee. I have to wear these diapers. It's really interesting to be back at your mother's house wearing diapers, barely able to walk like a toddler, using Desitin, because radiation really irritated my tissues down there, like my eliminative orifices. Really irritated the tissue, and I think that's because that's where the body rids itself of the radiation, so it's more concentrated there. So that's been getting better slowly but surely. I used olive oil, like a real virgin organic olive oil, and I added my doTERRA lavender oil. What else did I use? A tiny bit of Lang Lang. It's really good for women's issues. Just a little bit of frankincense, not much. That stuff is strong. And mix it in, the olive oil, and put it on my privates, and really help to heal the tissues. So anyway, I've just kind of been getting over that. That was just 2 weeks ago that I finished radiation. Excuse me. I'm supposed to do an immunotherapy drip next week called Keytruda. I'm still not entirely convinced it's going to be helpful, but it's supposed to be a systemic approach to, kind of getting rid of the cancer in my whole body, the tumor and my lymph nodes. So that's pretty much it. That's the story right there. I have to make another video because this one's pretty long. But I wanted to share just kind of those physical things I've been going through. The other thing is with my lymphedema, my leg, you have to keep your leg moving all the time to keep the swelling from kind of seizing up your leg. And they're afraid, when that happens, they're afraid that you can get a blood clot in your leg. So I was living with that fear. I had an ultrasound to see if I had a blood clot, but then at any point, any day, I could get a friggin' blood clot. I feel like I'm out of the woods with that because my swelling is like a quarter of what it was. But there was a point where I was living with that stress too, and knowing that, like, what if that happens? I could just not wake up. I mean, so stressful. So anyway, I just had to have faith. I just decided not to focus on it, focus on what I could do, breathe, do my holistic practices, do energy work on my body, bring love to my body, use my oils, whatever it takes, dance, go for walks. Anyway. All right, well, I'm going to stop. I'm going to end for now, but thank you for listening, and if anything I've said helps or you have any questions or comments, please leave them, and like my videos if you want, subscribe if you want to. Okay, thank you. Bye.